Today we're starting off with something that I think everyone needs to see. So it's been about a year since we got Kubo, and ever since he's been a puppy, he's been very fluffy. You know, he's been a really fluffy dog, and gradually over the course of the year, he has gotten fluffier and fluffier to the point where he basically reached 100% fluff. He essentially turned into a cloud. You couldn't see his face anymore. His ears had just totally disappeared. He always looked incredibly grumpy because the hair was covering his face and his mouth was kind of dropped down. So after a lot of talks with the groomer, we decided we would get him trimmed short. This is what he used to look like, as I say. Just a bundle of fluff. It's hilarious to look at. And this is what he looks like now. And honestly, I'm still not 100% certain if we've actually received the same dog back from the groomer. I mean, he acts the same, and he sounds the same, and he responds to Kubo exactly the same, you know, and if you make a raspberry noise, he'll bark at you, so that's definitely a Kubo thing. There's not many dogs that do that, but still, alright, it feels, oh my goodness, it feels like a different dog. It really does. It feels like a different dog. But he's a lot more robust. He seems a lot happier. He doesn't get so hot, which is fantastic. And yeah, just the maintenance of his fluff was getting a bit much. He loves running in ditches and in long grass and things. Was constantly getting stuff stuck in his fur. So he's a happy pup. He's a happy pup. It's just going to take a little while to adjust to his new look. Anyway, all things Kubo aside, let's move on to the Hermitcraft episode. In this one, we're going to be working on the megabase, and we're going to be making serious progress on that. I've been really enjoying building up everything recently, and I just want to keep this good momentum going. First things first, I'm going to make things less visually busy. I'm going to make it so that everything is cleaned up so that we can kind of see where this base actually is going. And that process starts by connecting up all of these areas here, so kind of building up one solid structure in this area, so then we can actually start unifying everything. And one thing that I've started to notice is that my mouse's scroll wheel is starting to get less responsive. I think I might have burnt it out a little bit from all of this randomized block placing that I've been doing lately. Oh, I just finished doing this without realizing that I'd finished doing this. That's always a nice thing. Normally it's completely the other way around. Now, in the original one of these little things that I built, I used stone slabs, and I'm using stone slabs again, but I am considering making use of grass in this area. I'm kind of toying with the idea of just using grass on all of the external areas of this base to make it really bright and green, because the bright jungle green contrasts very nicely with all the grey that we have going on. And because immediately after recording that clip, I fell straight off that wall, I guess I'm going to experiment with it now. And the result of that experiment is that it looks really good, so I'm going to do it for all four of them. With that done, it's now time to connect up all four of these. As you can see in the previous episode, I kind of tried out a diagonal mirroring what we did down at the bottom there, but I really didn't like the way they looked, so instead, we're going for the more right-angle-y system. I mean, you know, I'm not very good at my building vocabulary, am I? You know, at least with redstone contraptions, there's actual things that I can talk about. Like, I can say it's a T flip-flop or an RS Snorlatch, or I have to connect this into this, or this piston needs to fire. With buildings, it's all subjective. I actually have to use my words and try and describe things. It's a nightmare. 2 hours later, I'm going to be honest, I probably should have time-lapsed this. I hadn't realised it was going to take quite as long as it did, but the central section is now all done, so we have ourselves a fully built-up middle here, which is looking cool. Now, I am going to try my best to customize this a tiny bit with the addition of water. I saw that popping up quite a bit down in the comment section. I'm going to experiment with waterfalls and different ways that I can implement water into this build, because it is going to be a very nature-based build, so I think that will fit in quite nicely. But for now, grass, which I guess we probably could include in the nature-based things. I mean, grass is definitely a nature-based thing, isn't it? As is dirt, which I've had to use quite a bit of. Hopefully all of that grass spreads throughout this dirt. I mean, I know I haven't placed it that wisely. I probably could have dispersed the grass throughout the dirt to ease the spreading, but then again, I'm quite curious to see how long it takes for the grass to spread from here all the way across. It is funny though how the simple act of just adding in this floor here has really helped to calm down the busyness and how much your eyes have to take in when looking at this enormous structure. Now, as I mentioned in the previous episode, the other thing that is really going to help us is some form of color contrast. So I definitely think the water is a good way to go. I'm fairly certain I had some ice lying around here somewhere. I can't remember where it is. Have I actually put it back in a good position? It looks like I have. Amazingly, I've actually used my sorting system for once. I am terrible at keeping non-automated sorting systems sorted. It just, after one day, it just falls apart. Right, here comes the first waterfall theory that I had. So placing in the waterfalls here, and also, was it one here? Oh my goodness. Would you say this is an improvement? I think if we implement that a little bit more, and we get more water into this thing, like water down here and some water flowing around, I actually think that that could be a pretty big upgrade. I mean, already it's brightened up the build a little bit, especially actually on the topic of brightening things up. If we brightened up behind the water, so the water is kind of lit from behind, that could look quite good. I'm not sure how I feel about this though. I think the problem is we've got a lot of vertical lines going on. Like vertical line, vertical line, vertical line, and then vertical line. All of this is just, it's like stacked vertical lines next to one another. And it means that your eyes can't really work out where anything is. I think that's the problem that I'm running into. So, how do we fix that? What do we do about that? I guess just introduce some horizontal lines to counteract the vertical lines. As you can probably tell, I'm not really sure. I'm going to test it out in creative mode testing world. It looks pretty cool. And I'm doing it in a ruinous way, which is going to require a large quantity of jungle leaves, which I don't seem to be able to mine without getting enormous lag spikes. Can you see that? Look at that. It's like a slideshow every single time I break a block. So there are a number of things that were working against me in this build that was kind of preventing it from looking good. So the first thing is that everything was floating up in the air. Alright, and that's just, it's difficult for your eyes to comprehend. It looks off because it's not in contact with the floor. Your eyes trying to make sense of it, trying to make sense of the perspective. So I've decided to just put in this dirt platform here to kind of fix that problem. The next problem was not being able to differentiate between this area here and this area here, not getting a sense of depth. So I've added in a few little kind of structural elements that basically tie those things together, and they kind of inform your brain, look, there's distance between these two things. Look, they're connected up now, okay, and we can see how they work together. And the other piece of the puzzle was the ruining. I definitely think that ruining is required in all areas. You can't just have one area that's totally ruined and another area that's completely clean. I think all of it has to be ruined for it to look good. Now we find out if all of this actually worked together to make something better. And I would say the answer is a resounding yes. 100%, 1000%, this just looks really cool. On that side, it's just like a strange eye test. It's like an eye contrast test. It's like you're trying to make sense of it, competing lines and things like that. Whereas this just works. We've got the horizontal lines of the fence posts and things. It looks really, really cool. I'm super, super happy with it. It does, however, take quite a long time to do. I mean, it's definitely not the easiest process in the world to build this thing. And we'll get back to it in a second. There's just something that I quickly want to do. As we're resetting the nether over the next couple of days, alright, I thought I would pop to the button to grab the redstone supplies. Somebody's already done it. Somebody's cut the button. They've taken the units of the button. And now I'm curious as to who did it. As I say, I'm not angry at all. I just thought it would be handy to grab the hoppers and the comparators and the repeaters and things before the nether resets and we lose all of it. But now I'm really curious as to who has them. I mean, who knows if they've taken the insides of the button. I mean, maybe in Minecraft 1.16 someone could now build another button. I mean, we never know what's going to happen. Hashtag who gutted the button. We need to find the person responsible for this. We can rule out Cabfan and Impulse SV and Tango because they all seem pretty surprised when I told them. It's a mystery that I'm going to work hard on solving. And mark my words, when I do solve it, absolutely nothing is going to happen. Because no crime has been committed here. They were free redstone resources that were going to disappear anyway. No one is angry. I just want to solve the mystery, really. Worst episode of Sherlock Holmes ever. Especially because I've just woken up and the mystery has been solved. And my extreme investigation skills lead me to believe that it was Exumavoid who took the redstone resources. But not only did he take my redstone resources, he also packaged them up into a shulker box and he's left them in my base for me to have. Basically, he's just been a really good friend on the server. He's got my back. He didn't want me to lose my redstone stuff, so he saved it for me, and I appreciate that. And we live to fight another mystery. It is far too early in the morning for me to be doing voices like that. Well, I'm incredibly glad that I decided to sleep on this design, because I've come back the next morning, and I still really like it. And that's always a good test as to whether or not you truly like what you've built, is when you see it the next day, and if you still like it, then that means you're on the right track. So I guess I'm going to continue that theme upwards. And things are going pretty well so far. We're about an hour into the process, and as you can see, we've got all of the fence posts in place. We've got a little bit of leafage. I've also ruined up some of these edges here, which really, really helps. That seems to be the thing that helps the most. But if I return to my little viewing perch here, it's coming together. It's no longer looking like a grey mess. it's actually starting to look really, really cool. And I know that's like the 15th time that I've said that in today's Hermitcraft episode, and probably about the 40th time in this season, but I feel like I have to clarify these things. I have to just make it clear how I feel. For the first time in this episode, we are going to be utilising a different viewing perch, because I have done a little bit of work on this side of our tower, our hangy-offy bit, and it is all looking good. The only thing that I am noticing, though, is that that's probably around about 45 minutes worth of progress there, doing all of this stuff with the fence posts and the ruining and everything like that. The size of this build means that it is totally lost. Be honest, if I had told you that I had done something between those two clips, you wouldn't know, would you? This is the problem with mega builds. Mega builds, funnily enough, take a mega amount of time to actually build. I suppose they wouldn't really be that mega if they didn't take a mega amount of time to build. Oh, and actually, while I'm up here, I just want to say I am aware of some of these things having those crossbars and some of them not. Don't worry, I am going to address that, and I am going to work out which one I prefer soon. I change my mind almost daily, so I thought I'd leave that until I actually have a proper decision. I really don't know why I didn't do this sooner. Why did I not create a bulk supply of firework rockets to put in an ender chest sooner? Every single time I run out of firework rockets, I go to my farms to pick up exactly one stack. I worry about myself sometimes. Now, I've been doing a lot of looking at Scar's base. Okay, I do this quite often. If I'm ever stuck with my build, I come over here and just stare at pieces of it because, I mean, the dude's a master. Alright? And I really, really like his spruce wood mixed with jungle wood. It's kind of a mix that I'd never thought of before, and also the dark oak as well. It's a mix that I'd never really thought of before because I just assumed those colours wouldn't go together. But they look seriously, seriously cool. So I might see if I can work on the interior a little bit. Does anyone know what this thing is? I'm very curious as to what this thing is. After gathering around about 10 stacks of spruce logs, I've now started placing in all the blocks to the floor, and it's difficult for me trying to make this work with the trapdoors and things. This is texture that I'm not really used to placing, so it's definitely a bit of a learning curve. But I do think it looks cool. Yeah, I think this fits the style of the build quite nicely, and that colour combination, why have I never thought of that before? I mean, it's basically perfect. And as always, I can't possibly build something without looking at it from above. That also looks quite nice. The idea that I'm now going to have a clean bottom area of my base is really cool. I'm also thinking a little bit about lighting here. I reckon underneath some of these trapdoors, does light still come through trapdoors? I'm assuming it does, because if so, that's a perfect way to light this area. But for the time being, I'm going to be honest, I am so fed up of just being destroyed by mobs constantly. I just need to run around chucking in torches. Because every 5 seconds, I'm being hit by an arrow, or smashed by some form of zombie, or blown up by some form of creeper. We need to sort this out. But first, by the looks of things, we need to sort out Grumbot. I mean, so Grumbot is a bit broken. Grian's tried to fix it, which is definitely, that's not good. Now he's stuck. Please assist. He's been hacked, and Grian made it worse. Okay, yeah, no, that sounds definitely like something that I should probably try and go and sort out. Oh my goodness, what has happened? Look at this! So he's got a pink bobble, he's got a love heart in his face. I mean, he does look quite adorable, but I can't help but feel like this has to be something to do with the Get Gorgeous campaign. Oh, see, it's kind of bad, but I kind of think it's quite cool. Right, let's try and work out what's happened here. So, need to prime old Grumbot, we need to bootload the brain, we need to flood the mineral reservoirs, chuck in this, and boom. I mean, so he is calculating something, that sounds good. Okay, he's angry. He is dispensing answers to things, though, but it's just get Grian. He's just said get Grian? What? So I guess if I work backwards here, there's get gorgeous. That's probably what he was originally saying. And then I imagine Grian has tried to fix him and now he just says get Grian. Which is, I mean, I don't know if he's broken. Unless he's telling me to get Grian? Maybe he's commanding that I get Grian? I'm here on my own. Normally I have Grian with me when I communicate with him. Alright, let me ask another question. And it needs to be a question where the answer can't possibly be get Grian, which is actually quite difficult. After much thought, I think I've come up with something. What colour is the ocean? I mean, if he answers get Grian to this, then we know there's definitely 100% a problem. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Alright, well, he's got an answer for us. He's angry again. And yeah, it's get Grian. He's definitely stuck. So, after a little bit of fixing, he should now be ready to answer some more mayoral questions. I mean, I guess we should probably run a test quickly. Thankfully, I actually have created a system that allows us to test Grumbot. So, if I place this command in, do the old thingamajig, we should now get a pre-programmed response, okay? And that will prove to us that he's out of his boot loop. And okay, well, he's not angry anymore, so that's good. And I feel happiness. I mean, that's not the response that I was it's not the response it's not the response I was expecting. But it's better than him being stuck in a loop. I mean, it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. I mean, he's gone against the command a little bit, but I'm sure it's fine. Anyway, back over at the base now, you can see we have got all of the flooring in place, and you may notice that it's not quite as ruined as all of the stuff out the front here, and that is because I am still toying with ideas of layout in this area. I kind of just wanted to get everything in place. I wanted to do a quick tester in the entrance, but then I'm still toying with ideas of what I'm actually going to do with this space, whether it's going to be a grand entrance hall or if it's actually going to serve some form of use in terms of like storage systems or potentially storage silos or transportation places and things like that. So for now, it's going to be staying a little bit dull. But even just placing in that tiny bit of spruce wood down at the bottom here, once again, has helped us in the grand scale of the build. It really does look a lot cleaner, a lot tidier. Anyway, I'm now going to start work on this side. This base is such a mega ridiculous project. I mean, I do wonder how many hours in total have been sunk into this thing so far. And it's not even fully done. The little dirt platform has been extended to reach this pillar right here. And just so you know, I do plan on actually connecting this up into the floor, either through terraforming downwards or potentially building up a border wall. I really cannot wait until we build up an industrial tree farm in the industrial district. That seems like that would be the most useful build. I've just slept in this bed here, and I've slept next to my own head. Now, I really feel like I wouldn't have placed that, because that is very sinister, the idea that I would be watching myself sleep. Has someone been fiddling with my base? Well, more importantly, I've been fiddling with my base, and it is coming together. This is my first time actually looking at it, and I've got a beaming smile on my face, just because you all doubted me down in the comment section, you know, saying that it was a great mess and all this sort of thing. Now that we're adding in the details, it looks pretty wild, doesn't it? This looks nuts. And now that we're getting the second layer in, it's just getting better and better. And I gotta say, I think the one thing that helps us build the most, and I think I said this earlier on, is these. Turning them from being these straight lines into these ruined lines just makes such a massive difference. Gathering up more ruining supplies. I do feel a little bit bad for the jungle when I do this. I hate to think what the jungle is going to look like by the end of Hermitcraft Season 7, but it's a matter of duty. I tell you what, I do find it incredibly satisfying ruining things. There's something nice about taking just a pristine build and just destroying it, but in a good looking way. And I would say that this leaf block right here is the last leaf block for this part of the base. So that should be everything completed, and that should be all of this area ruined, and now we should have, yes, we have got a full frontal of the first kind of bottom 2/3 of the base. This gives us a good idea of what it's going to look like. I'm actually going to change my field of view so we can see this a little bit better. It looks a bit wild, doesn't it? It looks a little bit wild. Nice. Okay, now obviously this is a mega process. It takes a very, very long time. So I'm going to be working on it over multiple episodes. But gradually, obviously, this is going to merge around to the other side. I mean, actually, let's just quickly do something. So I'm going to fly in from this side. This is what we currently have. Okay, looking good, looking good, looking good. And then we're going to pop out on the other side and we're going to see what we started the episode with. That is so crazy. What a transformation. It has gone from being a kind of difficult to look at build to being something actually really, really cool. There's so much depth there. It's funny because even though we've added more stuff, it's actually made it less cluttered. How strange is that? Look at this. That's not a good look. Whereas this other side, it looks super, super awesome. I'm really, really proud. I'm really, really proud of what we managed to do in today's Hermitcraft episode. This base is starting to look absolutely nuts. And as I say, it's a long process. It takes a lot of time, but I really do look forward to just continuing our efforts and getting this thing looking all unified and like what we've done here. Because what we've done here is cool. It's super, super cool. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on. I hope that you enjoyed this Hermitcraft episode. It's been a ton of fun. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. And I tell you what, it is hot today. It is really, really warm in my office. It's suffocatingly warm. I mean, Grian got an air conditioning unit last year, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it when it gets warm. It's now warm, okay, and I'm regretting not getting an air conditioning unit. I really need to get one. I do.